Well, good morning, everybody. Zach Eichenberger here, Director of Product and Services for Controlled Product Systems Group. Thanks for joining. I'm super excited to introduce our newest addition to the family, RBtec Perimeter Security Systems. Fence intrusion and seismic detection has really been a gap in our portfolio for way too long. But we're quite particular when it comes to adding new supplier partners. We do our best to ensure the products meet your demands from a quality assurance and post-sale support perspective, and RBtec hits those marks very, very well. And as we digest the material presented today, I would really challenge all of you to think about those past projects where this type of solution would enhance your client's security. In many cases, this solution can pay for itself through loss prevention. I always think back to my fencing days. I was repairing chain link break-ins on a regular basis. I really wish I had this arrow in my quiver back then. It would have been a huge seller for me and a huge value to my clientele. So we're ready to quote these projects. Please reach out to your local CPSG for a quote after this session. And presenting today, we have Dory Ryback, VP of Marketing. Dory, thank you so much for organizing and presenting today. I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, Zach. And Zach, we're very excited as well to be a new vendor, and we're looking forward to working with you guys and your installers and partners. I'm going to start with presenting RBtec a little bit and talk about what we can offer everyone. So RBtec is a manufacturer of perimeter security solutions. We are in the market for 37 years. Originally, we are an Israeli company, but we are based out of Maryland. And we have a logistical warehouse in New Jersey as well. So everything is supplied and stocked and supported from here in the US, which we've been in the market for over 20 years. A little bit about RBtec, and I'm going to start actually with who are our end users, because it's important to explain that in perimeter security, it's known that it's government, prisons, military, and so on, where it has to be explained that RBtec solutions are designed for commercial, industrial, enterprise clients. So this system is designed to prevent theft and vandalism from a warehouse or from a self-storage or from utilities or from anything that is mostly affected by the break-ins and theft that happen too often these days. So our customers, if you can see here at the bottom, are anything from an RV storage facility to a self-storage to solar farms to critical infrastructure that is electric, water, utilities, gas, anything in that case. A lot of dealerships and equipment dealerships, storage lots, auction lots, overflow lots of dealers, anything that is have equipment that is worth a lot of money sitting somewhere and waiting for someone to break in and steal from it. We also do a lot of the logistical, transportation, warehousing, and so on industry. I just talked with another company a minute ago that had problems with copper theft and cables that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars of spools that are getting broken into and stolen. Some of our customers, and I'm not going to go into that too much, are every branch of the federal government and very large organizations to all kinds of corporations and names that you might know that are being affected by the same issues that we just talked about. So our systems are plug-and-play fence protection, meaning that those systems are simple, user-friendly, there's no training needed, there's no certification needed. Anything and anyone can install it as long as they have the basic tools, meaning that any installer that currently install gates, access control, cameras, or any experience that you have with basic knowledge of security and alarm systems, you will be able to install successfully that perimeter security. So our sensors are split in a family of 3 sensors, which is the IRONCLAD. That is designed for chain link fences, welded mesh, anything that is metallic fences. The mic alert, which is designed for more rigid fences, ornamental, wrought iron, aluminum fences, palisade fences, anti-ram fences, anything that is more the rigid type of fence. And we also have the wall alert, which is designed to replace some shock sensors that are in the market with a linear shock sensor, meaning you strap a cable to a wall and you will be able to detect sledgehammering, cutting, drilling, or anything for a brick, concrete, or drywall that needs to be protected. Any questions so far? No, okay. The Ironclad is our main product, and it is what we're describing as a fence alarm system. It's designed to be exactly that: simple, reliable, and affordable. This is not something that's supposed to be over sophisticated, too many features that someone's never going to use or anything like that. This is designed to be that you see the cable here that is attached to the fence. Every inch of that cable is a sensor. There are no sensors attached to the fence itself. The cable is the sensor, and everywhere we'll run that cable on the fence, that will trigger an alarm. The advantage and the reason we're going to use that system is that some facility currently have a few cameras, maybe not at all, but they want to get a real-time indication that someone is cutting or climbing or lifting their fence. There's no other sophisticated features here other than initiating alarm with simple dry contacts from a fence intrusion. This system is plug and play and also off the shelf. So this is not custom made. This is not per order. We have everything in stock in Maryland. And whenever someone installs or orders that system, they will buy it in pre-cut sizes of 250, 500, and 1,000-foot spools. Meaning that if you have 800 feet of fence and you want to buy one zone system, you'll buy still 1,000 feet because it's above 500 and under 1,000. When you get the system on site, you'll be able to cut that length of cable that you can see over here to whatever side you want. You terminate it with an end-of-line unit, and you connect the other side to the processor. So the largest heat we have is 2,000 feet. If someone has more than 2,000 feet, or they want to have multiple zones, they can use just as many kits they want to cover that perimeter. So if you have 4,000 feet of fence line for a logistical center, you're going to buy 2 systems of 1,000 feet, that each of those systems is a standalone system. So I'm going to show here a quick video of how the system works. I'm going to explain a little bit before we start. So the system detects sharp frequencies that are associated with cutting, climbing, and jumping a fence. Low frequency of the movement of the fence in the wind, in snow, in hail, or any winter activity or wind activity in general is not associated with intrusion because those vibrations are low frequency, and that's not going to be caused by someone climbing or cutting the fence. So you can see here that it's going to shake the fence. When the light here going to be triggered, that's when an alarm initiated. So now we start climbing the fence and it triggers an alarm. I'm going to show you that again. You can shake the fence, like the wind is moving that fence, and there's no alarm. And once he starts climbing that fence, we'll initiate an alarm because that vibration is associated with something that we are looking for. On top of that, we have levels of sensitivity that you can adjust, and I'm going to talk about it in a second. So the layout of the system or how it's been installed is usually that we're going to have the processor, which is LPU, local processing unit, is mounted on the fence line, usually on a post, on a pole, and you're going to have one zone to the right and one zone to the left if it's a 2-zone system. If it's a 1-zone system, that board is going to be just at the end of the cable, and you're going to have one length of cable going out. The cable is mounted in the middle of the fence, meaning that if it's an 8-foot fence, it's roughly 4 feet high, and it will detect the full height of the fence. So although the cable is mounted in the middle, you don't need to touch the wire or cut the wire in order to initiate an alarm. The cable can pick up vibrations for the full height of the fence with no problem whatsoever. A question that often comes up is how good the fence needs to be, what the quality of the fence needs to be. The answer is the quality of the fence is it needs to be standing up straight, And ideally, we need to have as much tension on the fence as possible, meaning that if that fence is going to be like a guitar string, that's ideal for intrusion, because the difference between the vibrations that are coming from wind and vibrations that are coming from intrusion will be the largest, the gap of frequencies. The more slack there is on the fence, the gap between the differences is shrinking, and therefore sometimes there will be more false alarms because of weather conditions. In general, we recommend obviously not to have any items hung on the fence, near the fence, and definitely not having a situation like you see over here, where he's tying a cable to a fence that barely stands. The way or the method we attach the cable to the fence is with stainless steel twist ties. Now, the reason that we recommend stainless steel twist ties is because no matter the weather, whether it's hot or cold, or snowy or sunny, or the changes during the day, that cable is going to be on the fence tight like the day it was installed. If someone is going to use plastic zip ties, the problem is that over time they become fragile, they loosen up, and then the cable starts slapping against the fence when it's windy, and that will cause false alarms. It's important to understand that the installation method, the quality of the fence, is as important as the system itself. So the better the fence, the better the installation, the cleaner the installation, the better the system is going to work. As far as the estimated time, for 1,000 feet of wire, we estimate roughly 4 hours for 2 techs, meaning that a 600 meters, 2,000 feet kit, which is our longest, is roughly a day of work for 2 techs. One thing that I want to say also here is you can see that our cable has stainless steel braid or armor. It's unique in the market because in that case, 2 things don't happen. One, rodents won't eat the cable or chew on cables. That in some cases, it's a problem in outdoor systems. And second, salt, sun, ocean salt, a seafront, anything like that won't affect the system operation and won't cause any issue over time that the cable becomes fragile and cracked. So as far as the system and the brain of the system and the alarm outputs that we have for the system, you can see over here on the left, we have the inputs of the 2 zones. There are just screw terminals. There's nothing special as far as the connection to the wire. You strip the wire and you land it on screw terminals. You have outputs that are 2 relays, 1 per zone or 1 per section of fence alarm output to the burglar alarm or the access control system. And we have the system works on DC voltage. You connect over here 12 to 24 volt DC, half an amp consumption. Now, the second thing that is important here is that we have buttons in the middle of the board. So the basic adjustment of sensitivity can be done straight on the board itself with no other equipment, and you can adjust the system with simple LEDs that are straight on the board itself here on the left, and the buttons that are up and down. And there are 20 levels of sensitivity that you can adjust the system on site with no equipment whatsoever. But we have also software. So there's a USB connection on the board itself. You can connect a laptop directly to the board itself and adjust the system with a software that gives you up to 500 levels of sensitivity versus 20 directly on the board itself. The software is free of charge and is part of the system. There's no monthly cost or any cost for the system other than one-time purchase of the system. The software gives us not only the 500 levels of sensitivity, but also the ability for RBtec to remote support the installer, meaning that you guys have a new installation or a new customer and you're not sure that you have enough experience or you've done enough installations or you have ever dealt with anything like that, and you don't know if the system will false alarm, who or what will be able to help you. The assurance that RBtec gives you over here is that we can remote support the tech on site by remoting it to his laptop and adjusting, troubleshooting, calibrating with the tech on site, meaning that even if he got to a point that he doesn't know what to do, we as RBtec can support and solve those problems. And I can say that we do it on a weekly basis, and 99% of the time success of adjusting and calibrating and supporting those customers. So when we sell the systems, we sell them in kits. So when you quote a system or you get a quote for a system, the kit will have a master code that will be 1 zone or 2 zones and the length of the cable itself. Inside the kit, there's the cable, the end of the line, the processor, and the weatherproof enclosure. The stainless steel ties that I showed earlier are an accessory that you buy in addition to the kit. You don't have to buy them, and that's why we give you the permission to buy with or without those kits. Any questions so far about the system itself before I speak about the layout a little bit?
No questions via chat so far, but definitely ask those questions if you have any that are coming up. I have a question though, Dory. Do you find that the majority of these systems are tied into an alarm panel, or do they kind of live standalone where they're just looking to be preemptive and turn lights on and turn an alarm on?
So that's a good question, because I want to emphasize that the alarm system in this case is the logic, it's the brain, meaning that we don't use alarm system because we have to have an alarm system. We can wire a siren and a strobe lights to the board itself. But the fence system doesn't have a clock. It doesn't have alarm or arm or disarm, meaning that usually we will wire it as a zone in the burglar alarm to allow the customer to, let's say, disarm it during the day and arm it during the night, or have the logic of zone 1 trigger an alarm, then trigger lights, siren, and send a text message to the owner. You know, that the functionality that you get from the burglar alarm is to be able to get the alarm from the fence and initiate multiple activities in order to do something for that alarm. In connecting it directly to our system will be a stupid initiation. Every time the fence will trigger an alarm, that relay latches and then it will initiate something.
Makes total sense. So I think I asked the question twofold just to kind of understand that a little bit better, but also just to point out that, yeah, we could tie it into an alarm, which gives us all that additional logic, or, you know, we can
again,
go
alarm or access control system, or some camera systems have alarm inputs as well, as far as that, you know, if you want to initiate something. Now, I just want to emphasize something else. You can see here a relay latch time. So we can adjust here how many seconds that relay output latches. And you can do it from 1 second to, I think, 3 minutes. So it's up to you of how many seconds you want to adjust that system that, you know, initiate the alarm every time the system or the fence triggers.
Gotcha. And we could certainly add on our own, you know, timers and
right, timers and relays and anything that you would like. Yes.
Gotcha. There is one question that came in. Shirley's asked, what happens if the cable is cut?
So if the cable is cut, then obviously you'll get an immediate alarm. When the cable is cut, the alarm will... okay, let me start from the beginning. When there is a normal intrusion where the cable is not cut, the latch or the alarm is momentary. The default, by the way, here it says 1 second, but the default is 5 seconds. So on a normal alarm, the latch will close or open, depends if it's normally open or normally closed, for 5 seconds and then reset. When someone cuts the wire, the system lost the resistance on the wire. It doesn't see the end of the line resistor anymore, similar to fire or burglar alarms. And then it will go into alarm and stay in alarm until the cable was fixed. Now, in order to fix the cable, I'm gonna run back real quick over here and tell me when you can see the 2 black boxes. There is a repair box or a junction box or a splice box. It's really just a weatherproof enclosure with screw terminals or push terminals that we're putting the 2 wires together. So this is very economic, very cheap, very simple fix of the wire, and then the system is back up and running.
Perfect.
Is that enough of an answer?
Yep, I think that nailed it.
Okay. So again, I'm not gonna say too much about the design, but as far as the laying out the system, You can lay out the system in multiple ways, but the two basic ways for one zone or a two-zone system is usually when you're gonna have one processor, it is mounted, let's say, on the fence or near the gate or somewhere like that. And then the zone, the red line here, wraps around the whole facility and then ends near the box itself. The reason is that the cable itself is not a loop. And it's important to remember, it starts at the box and it ends in a dead end in an end-of-line resistor. You can place the end of the line next to the box because you close the loop of the site, but the system doesn't need to be looped back to the processor in order to function. So, for example, in a two-zone system, you're going to have the processor on one side of the site, and then the two zones, the blue zone and the red zone, will actually end or being terminated on the very other side of the site. So in this case, you have two zones that are monitored with two different outputs on a site, and that way you know where it's coming from one side or the other. So that was regarding the Ironclad. The mic alert is the next system, again, for more nicer fences, aluminum fences, rigid fences. You can see here the cable is clipped on the back side of the fence, and that will allow us to trigger again from climbing, playing open, cutting, anything that is for those type of fences. And we install the cable on the brace, meaning that we have to have a continuous infrastructure to tie the cable to and not in the middle like chain link fence, because we cannot have the cable hanging in the air between the rods. So that's why you will put the processor on one of the poles and then run up and on the brace, run the cable. So you can see here on different installations, sometimes in this case, it will be with clips, sometimes with ties, but in the process is exactly the same in order to detect on those type of fences. So on the wall alert again is designed to pick up vibrations from walls. It's designed to have a warehouse or a building or somewhere that is secured, and they're afraid that they're not gonna come through the door or the window, but actually through the neighbors or through some kind of a wall that they'll be drilling, hammering, breaking or so on. And we can have an impact or shock sensor for larger perimeters instead of using those small shock sensors that then in a building, you're gonna have to use sometimes hundreds of those. So in this case, we run the sensor cable in a conduit. And the reason in the wall alert we use the conduit is that gives us 100% contact with the wall with no air gaps versus, if you're gonna use any anchors, again, between the anchors, there's not gonna be contact in the wall. And in this case, because the amount of vibration that the wall is generating, we want to pick up as much vibration we can from those walls. Again, this system can be installed on brick, concrete, drywall, wood, or any other type of wall that they're separating spaces in order to detect the vibrations from the wall. As far as gates, on all the systems that I mentioned, gates are a solution or a question that comes often of how we're dealing with gates. And on sliding gates, we have a sliding gate kit. That kit is a retractable spool. It's a spring-loaded extension cord. What it is, it reels in and out. We put on that reel special non-sensitive wire that all it does, it bridges the moving gate from the fixed fence and able to pass the signal, obviously. So that's mounted usually next to the gate, and that will be pulling out. You can see here a cable pulling out and in when the gate opens and closes. On a sliding gate, on a swing gate, we usually loop the cable on the gate itself. This is a pedestrian. On a vehicle gate or double swing gate, you'll just loop the two sides and go under the gate. And we also have a quick connector for places where you don't have a conduit under the gate, or when there is a problem that the gate opens very rarely, and then we don't have a conduit under, and we have to go with the cable straight over the cable itself. If that connector is being open when the system is working, it's like simulating an alarm or a cut, and obviously it will go immediately into alarm. Now, the reason we need to do all those three is because the zone or the cable on the fence has to be continuous. There cannot be any gaps, jumps, or anything like that on the sensor wire. It doesn't pass through gate contacts or magnets, and there's no other way other than running physically the cable through those passages or ending the zone at the gate itself and another zone coming from the other direction. But if we need to cross a gate, it will have to have some kind of a passage across the gate. And it's important when you go and offer customers to verify there is a conduit crossing the gate. And if there isn't, we need to think about the design or the layout of the system.
So Dory, question for you on that last slide. On the pedestrian gate, again, if the system is active while that gate opens, whether it's a valid user or not, it's going to trip, right?
Correct. Yeah. If that's installed like you see here in the picture, it will trigger us.
10-4.
So a quick comparison to video analytics and beams or infrared sensor motion detectors. You know, some of the sensors that are often being pitched as a comparison or a solution that can replace fence sensors. And I want to explain why in many cases it's not 100% accurate, especially with video, because on functionality, the main important thing in this case is line of sight. Again, I had a customer that I talked yesterday that had truck lots or containers or anything that is equipment that is parked along the fence line. It can be RVs. And the problem is that in most cases, even if you're going to put cameras, they cannot see the fence line. There are items that are blocking the line of sight, and therefore there won't be any detection, and even if you put the best video analytics or motion detector. In the fence system, the property already have a fence. We are protecting the borderline of the property, and if someone is gonna be able to or try to get into that property, we'll get a detection. So in that case, you're not losing any perimeter, and you're protecting the very edge of the property. Second thing, with cameras, people tend to forget in some cases, weather conditions will affect the system. Lighting, snow, rain, you know, in certain cases, the cameras will be blinded, angles that it's blinded and it cannot see, and so on. The fence system gives you 100% coverage of every inch of the perimeter with no gaps whatsoever. As far as cost, most of the cameras have some kind of annual fee or monthly fee if they have analytics. If they don't, usually the analytics will be in a lower tier of quality and therefore probably generate false alarms in many cases. And you know, that's the trade-off, where over here you're getting a top-notch technology with no monthly fee whatsoever. As far as the motion detectors and infrared beams and all of those sensors that are in the market, again, the problem with them is line of sight has to be straight. Any curve up and down, left and right, you'll have to add another pair and another pair and another pair, and over time you need to maintain them and clean the lenses and all those things that the fence system doesn't have any maintenance at all. If it was done correctly the first time, the cable itself doesn't need any maintenance at all over time. So that's the main thing. Second thing, with the beams or sensors that you have to put around the perimeter, they need infrastructure. Multiple points of power and outputs and so on. And the price itself of the whole installation, at the end, when you combine installation, the time, the maintenance, and so on, will be more expensive than putting a fence sensor around the perimeter. So again, about our end users and giving you just a little bit of pictures of installations and understanding more about who's the potential customers you can sell this system to, is a lot of the industrial outdoor storage. So cables, plumbing, generators, anything that is stored outside on larger lots and is prone to be stolen. A lot of solar farms, we've done solar farms, large and small, So we have a lot of experience with solar farms. Many RV, camper, boats, trailers, anything that is long-term parking lots for airports, anywhere that you have vehicles parked for a while, and again, open to theft. So we have also high-end body shops, ATVs, and obviously commercial lawnmowers. We've done multiple cannabis grow-ups around the country and in Canada. So anything from greenhouse to storage facilities to distribution centers, so anything that is around that industry and needs to be protected. So no, there's no issue with ice buildup on the system. That's why the outer braid, the stainless steel braid, is not related directly to the detection. It just gives us protection of the wire, and therefore ice does not affect the system at all. Do I need to connect to another alarm to trigger an alarm? How can I pinpoint the alarm zone more precisely? So, as we mentioned earlier, yes, you need to connect it to another alarm system to monitor the alarms. The system itself is not a standalone system. We are a sophisticated sensor that's supposed to be connected to an alarm system or access control or anything in that nature. Now, as far as how you pinpoint the alarm, the system is zone-based, meaning that it has 2 zones, and the pinpointing of the alarm will be whether it's one zone or the other. If you want more zones or smaller zones, you can use multiple systems around the perimeter. Let's say if you want 4 zones or 6 zones, you just buy smaller kits with more processors and you place them around the perimeter. Other customers that we sold to are scrapyards, auction lots, anything that, again, with a lot of vehicles, transportation and logistics, so trucks, warehouses, trains, and so on. Okay. Zach, can you hear me clearly, or I'm breaking up?
Yeah, I hear you pretty clearly, but it might be their connection on their end.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat it. So first of all, the system needs to be monitored with an alarm system or an access control or camera system. This is not a standalone system. We need to have another system usually to monitor that. Yes, you can trigger lights and siren and strobe lights directly from the system, but then it will be done 24/7. The system itself doesn't have a clock. It doesn't have arm or disarm. If you want to have those features, you have to run it through some kind of a brain or a logic that usually is a burglar alarm or access control system. On top of that, as far as the location of the alarms, the system is a zone-based system, meaning that each leg of the wire is a zone of detection and output. And if you want to have multiple zones or smaller zones, you use more kits or smaller kits. Now, the logic here is most of those customers, most of those facilities, they don't have anyone on site. They don't have anyone to react to the alarms at the very second. And in most of the cases, they don't have enough cameras even to monitor the whole perimeter. Meaning that even if we gave them more precision of detection, they don't know how to use it. There's no advantage for them for more precise detection. In most cases, by the time someone reacts, it's not going to be in the point that they entered. The system is designed for facilities that want to have an indication that someone broke into their facility and can try to scare them away. So it's detect and prevent. We're going to detect them with a fence, and we're going to try to prevent with lights, with strobe lights, with sirens, with the police, with monitoring company, with whatever. But the reality is that if it was, 50 feet to the right or 50 feet to the left, in most of those commercial or industrial clients, it has no importance to the functionality of the system. So another application in the world of logistics and warehouses is that a lot of those warehouses are giant buildings that are partitioned inside, sometimes with a fence and sometimes with a wall. We have done installations for those cases, or also data centers, that's actually the one on the right, that have indoor fences or cages, and we can monitor those fences or cages as well. So if there's a building that has high-end equipment, sensitive materials, pharmaceuticals, explosives, anything that has to be protected inside the building in a smaller area or section, then we can do that with an indoor fence as well. It doesn't have to be outdoor. As I mentioned before, you can see the cable here on the fence on all the systems. Utilities nowadays with critical infrastructure and around the country are a large customer, and there's a growing need in the utility market and, for example, the suppliers for the utility markets, meaning the service yards, the storage, anything that is around those utility markets, they are in a growing need, and we have recently a lot of inquiries for those type of customers for perimeter security. Also, we've done gated communities, golf clubs, country clubs, all kinds of places. I've recently done few amphitheaters and amusement parks and zoos and fairgrounds and all of those places that not necessarily are security threat or theft, but they want to protect the perimeter because, unauthorized entry, after hours entry, and so on, that they want to protect against it. We've done also for local police stations, impound lots, city impound lots, insurance companies, and all kinds of types where, again, they store vehicles that they want to protect from people. And again, as I said, different applications, odd applications. We've done public pools, HOA pools, universities, football fields, anything you can imagine that they want to protect, again, entry to a place that is fenced, and they need to protect it against after hours entry. As far as the infrastructure, we're not limited to the fences that I showed you. If there is a different application or different site that has a different type of fence, from barbed wires to concertina coils to all kinds of, anti-cut, anti-climb fences, you can consider us as well. The system is low voltage, meaning that it can work on solar and batteries if someone needed as well. This is not something we offer, but as far as the consumption, it definitely can work on solar. By the way, you can see here in the background the school buses. We do a lot of school districts as well in K-12, either from schools, so for the buses, for the buses parking lots, and so on, as an application as well. And that's it as far as the systems.
Oh, very good. Those pictures are super helpful, actually, to just kind of visualize how these go in and what the type of applications are. Hey, in some of those pictures, I saw that there was the RBtec cable, and then there looked like there were some, black jacketed cable, or maybe it was the wall version. Is that what we were looking at there? Were there two different types of systems, or was that just their own internal?
No, there's the IRONCLAD is one type of cable, the mic alert is a different type of cable, and the wall alert is a different type of cable because they need to act differently in different applications. So the one with the stainless steel braid is just the IRONCLAD for the chain link fences because it has to have the rigidity for the weather. So some of our secret sauce, let's call it this way, is the cable itself is more rigid, and therefore some of the weather vibrations are being filtered by the physicality of the cable itself, that it doesn't vibrate easily. Competitor systems have PVC jacket that outdoors, when it warms up, it becomes more soft, and when it's cold, it becomes more stiff. And obviously the sensitivity doesn't change, so the detection capabilities and the false alarms change in weather. When we have the stainless steel braid, it changes, it stays the same in every weather. So that's why in the fence system for chain link fences, we have the braid as well.
and 4.
So does the system need to be disarmed in order to enter the premises through the gate? The answer is yes. Usually, if you're gonna put the cable on the fence, when it's you're gonna enter the gate, that will initiate an alarm. So you have to have two options. One, you put a delay on the alarm in the alarm system, so until you get to the keypad inside the building to initiate an alarm, or you have a keypad on outside the facility that you can disarm, or an app in some of the, by the way, the burglar alarms, like a Honeywell system, have an app that you can disarm it on the map before you enter the facility. So it depends on the burglar alarm, but in most cases, yes, that you'll have to disarm if you don't want to initiate the alarm when you go through the gate. A third option is putting on the gate a completely different sensor, like again, just a motion detector for that small section, and bypassing the gate completely with the system. It really depends on the functionality of the site and how people use that gate. I'm going to give you an example. In self-storage facilities, when that gate opened many times by many people that are not related it's not the owner, then we say, don't put our system on the gates where people come into the self-storage facility. Put a camera or put some kind of other technology on that gate, because there's a lot of permitted access often through that gate, and it's not going to be a viable solution for those type of gates. But 95% of the perimeter will be protected with our systems. Just let's say the two entries will be protected with something else.
I would say also reach out to CPSG if you've got questions on how our equipment would be utilized to shunt an alarm system while that gate is active. We've got typically functionality either built into the gate operator or into the access control products that we can tether onto to ensure there's no false alarms.
So what is the maximum allowable of deflection of the chain link that can have? Is there a push-pull test for that system? So actually there is the deflection, it's not science, because PVC fences and coated fences and normal chain link and different thickness of wire act a little bit different. The reality is that we want to have some tension that there's not too much slack. You cannot have like the fence when you pull it that much of pull and push. It needs to be a few inches of normal wear that of a fence. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be a guitar string, although ideally. But it has to have some attention that you tap a fence and it has some kind of a ding, like a high-pitched ding. If you tap the fence and the fence like flopping around, then probably it's not a good fence, and we need to stretch the fence in order to get a better detection capability. To be honest, still people install it on fences that don't have that tension, and it's still working fine. We have the capability, if you're gonna call us and get tech support, to adjust it as well. But again, it's not ideal. Any other questions?
I don't see any other questions coming in, but hey, look, if you're on this webinar or you're watching this webinar recording, you already know this, but from a security perspective, these are the types of solutions that are sought after in a good economy, a bad economy. And if you want to think long term, is security going to be more important than ever? I think the answer is yes. So this is a great option to lean into and to reach out to CPSG when you've got an opportunity to explore this a little bit more. I think it's just an offering that many are not providing to their customers, that they'd be very, very interested in if they realized that a solid solution was available, right?
So I want to emphasize on Zach's point is that we need to offer that to the customers and the end users. And one of the things that is the gap in education that hopefully this webinar helps a little bit is that people don't ask for perimeter security. Average Joe assumes that a fence protection is a government product and they will never be able to afford something like that. They don't think that this is something that they can buy or utilize for their facility. They have a warehouse or a storage facility, and they're gonna come to you guys and ask, can I have more cameras and more cameras and more cameras? Because that's what average Joe asks as far as perimeter security. we need to be educated and tell them what is the issue. Do people jump the fence, cut the fence, whatever? And when the answer is yes, then we need to direct them into some kind of a fence protection, maybe combined with cameras. So putting the fence sensor and get, video verification from the cameras. But the reality is that more cameras in most cases won't solve the problems.
It's a really good point. And I think if you walked up to the average person on the street and talked about this, they would think, oh, that's some sort of, Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise stuff, or it must be super expensive. And as you can see here, that's simply not the case. And if you reach out for a quote, you'll realize how achievable this is on a reasonable budget, and how it really just would pay for itself the first time it gets used. So hopefully this demystifies what the technology is and the availability of the technology, and that you've got partners in it. I can speak on behalf of RBtec. They're very responsive. They're helpful with system design. I like those, Google Map images that we can, throw down on a page and kind of outline the zones and identify what type of products and how much of it you're going to need for that application. So it's very achievable and available.
So, and again, I want to emphasize on Zach's point, if you have a project, what we need from you, or what the information that will help us help you, is we need to, how long is the fence? You can get it on Google Maps in most cases, but we need to know how long is the linear feet of the fence, what type of gate does the customer have, and what type of gate it is. So how many and what type, and that way we can try to help with the design and parts list and everything. By the way, on Tim's question, Zach, are you okay with them, advertising on their social media and page? From my point of view, of course, I'm more than happy, as long as you are tagging, again, all the involvement parties here. So CSPG and RBtec, I'm sure they will be more than happy to.
Absolutely. No issues on our side. Please advertise away. And in terms of cut sheets, I'll throw a link in here, but most of the cut sheets and sell sheets are tied to the kits that we offer. So I just put a link in there to one example of one of the kits, but we have multiple kits listed on the website.
Yeah, and we have cut sheets, installation manuals, documents for everything. So obviously we can have that. You can have it again in the CSPG website, or that you can have it on RBtec. There is a download section that you can download, or FAQ, where you can have all of that. So the life expected span of that system is 15 to 20 years. Again, you can see that everything here is designed to be high-end quality. Nothing is made in China in this case, and everything is stainless steel on the outside, the ties and everything. So as far as the electronics, I have systems that are on older generations, but are already in the field for 15 years and still working. So I have no doubt that 15 to 20 years is very realistic. The current lead time is that we have everything in stock. So if you order it, then probably within a few days, it's going to be shipped out to you. So in most cases, in most times, we have everything in stock here in the States. In some cases, something might be out of stock, but then it being restocked within 2 weeks at the most. So there's nothing here that you're going to have a lead time of months or anything like that.
Perfect. I will follow up this webinar just for everybody. If you're new to our webinars, I'll let you know this. If you're not, you already know. But we will follow up with a recording of this session, some links to the products on our webpage, and additional data points that you might consider, as well as RBtec's contact information if you want to contact them direct with questions about the products. So please, again, I'd encourage you to do that. Give us a call, get a quote for the products. We'll work with Dory on the more advanced types of sites to make sure it meets your needs. And to an earlier point earlier about tying this into alarms and cameras, that's where we might want to have more zones to trigger different sets of cameras and things of that nature. So we can go mild to wild here, I guess is my point. There's some, kind of basic, almost standalone type versions that we would architect utilizing other accessories that we offer through CPSG. And then, the majority of time we're going to tie those into some sort of existing access control or alarm panels, but that's what CPSG is here to help you do.
Thank you very much for everything. Zach, again, thank you for organizing it. I really appreciate it and looking forward for all the projects we're working on.
Likewise, appreciate your time, Dory. Thank you all for attending, and we'll get that information out to you all shortly.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Have a great day.